Hi, this is Lars from the Magnalyser team. Today I'm at my summer house, but I have more important things to do than enjoying the weather. I'm going to show you a new add-on for the Magnalyser, which is named Magnalyser. It's a rotor checking tool that you can use to check the field strength of your rotor and also check the magnet symmetry at the same time. Hang on. So let's see what's in the box. First of all, there is the Magnalyser itself. We're using the same rugged box as we used for the Magnalyser. Then we also include a cable to connect the Magnalyser with the Magnalyser for doing your tests. There is a calibration magnet provided for calibrating the Magnalyser before use. There's two non-magnetic bearings, really low friction to make sure that the rotor spins freely when doing test. There is an O-ring in order to fix the rotor with the bearing. And the final piece of the puzzle is the edge sensor. This sensor is mounted right on the edge. In this particular case, I already have one fitted into the box. And this makes sure that you can measure the asymmetry of the rotor. What you'll have to provide yourself is a rotor to test, and also in some cases you will need a shim to make sure that you shim the rotor properly according to the edge sensor. And it's all assembled in this way. If you need a shim, you just put that on. You put a bearing on each side like that, and then you fix the bearing on using the O-ring, and then place it in the bearing holders, and then it should spin freely like this. As you can see, the magnets are very strong. So make sure you keep magnets apart because they can easily snap and jump on you. So let's do our first test. To hook this thing up to the Magnalyser, first you connect the cable on the bottom of the Magnalyser, and then you connect this cable to the Magnalyser itself. You can power up the Magnalyser using 1 or 2 cells. I'm just right now using 1 cell battery to connect. Now you need to make sure that you have a firmware that supports the Magnalyser. And it should show a Magnalyser item on your menu. The first thing to do now is to make sure that this LED is actually purple. There's a trim resistor next to it. If you turn it one way, it will turn blue, and the other way it will go red. So it should be purple when you're just starting. There you go. So the first thing that happens now when we start the Magnalyser is that it runs through all the different sensors and calibrates the bias offset. And now we're good to go. We can bring out our rotor again just to make sure that it responds. As you can see, we get values on these bars and the mean and max value of the rotor field strength. So now it's hooked up. Let's go for initial calibration. The first time you use your Magnalyser, you need to make sure to calibrate the sensors to your Magnalyser. That's done by clicking the up button to enter the calibration mode. And here you have a calibration magnet reference value, which is defaulted to 650 in this case. You can increase that value by up button or decrease it by the down button. You can also make bigger steps by swiping clockwise and counterclockwise. This is in order for you to be able to adjust the amplification in the system to adapt to whatever values you are used to. 650 is our default, and then we can, depending on the magnet that we use for calibration, it can go up and down. So let's start the calibration. You just take this calibration magnet that's provided with the kit, and you put it in the first slot and wait until it's done. And then it indicates it's done, and you move on to the next slot. And this is done throughout the 5 different sensors. You need to make sure it's thoroughly cleaned out, so you don't have any dust or anything, because that will offset the calibration and you will get inconsistent results. So when the calibration is completed, it goes back and just redo the offset calibration. When the calibration is done, you can always go back and validate it by placing the calibration magnet into the slot, and you should see a max value of whatever calibration reference value you had in your system. In our case, we had 650 when we started. So by doing this, placing the sensor, different sensors, we can just recreate the values. And if you have a printer with your Magnalyser, you can bring that out, turn it on, and then hit the right button, and it would actually print out the results. Here you can see that all the max values are in line with the calibration reference, so the calibration is good. When the sensor calibration is completed, we can do our first test. The first thing to check is the purple LED for the edge sensor. If it's not purple but blue or red, you just adjust the trim resistor in the hole there, and then you're good to go. The rotor, we take out the rotor, we put the bearings on it like that. Make sure that they spin really free. If they're greased up or anything, just make sure that you clean them out with a bearing cleaner. Don't oil them, don't grease them at all. They should be spinning really smooth like this. When that's done, we can see our readings coming from the sensors. To make sure you have a clean reading, you should start the test by hitting the down button and then just spin it once and wait, and then the results comes up. So these are the clean results. You see the symmetry, 2.8 degrees. You have the max and the mean values around 1800. And if you want to make another test, you just hit the down button again, and then you're good to go. If you want the printout of this, you can bring out your Magnalyser printer, turn it on, and hit the right button, and then you'll get the readings right out. Like that.